Okay, so happy Thursday. That's kind of like a Friday since we get to enjoy our 3-day weekend. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you so that you can see. Oops, you're not supposed to see my email. That's not what you're supposed to see. All right, it's fine. It was fast. You didn't see anything, right? Okay, so today's assignment on Classroom just has one document for you. Okay, I'm sorry it's like 3 pages long because I wanted to. I know not everyone watches the videos, so I really wanted to write out kind of like a detailed explanation of the why behind this assignment. So again, it is a little bit more of a creative assignment, but it's purposeful in helping us with our focus now being rhetorical analysis, since that's the one on your AP test. So this assignment is called Rhetoric in Action. Okay, so I'm going to shout out particularly Jesus in first period, but he's not the only one. Some people have asked over the course of the year, like, what's even the point of rhetorical analysis? I'm never going to use this in real life. Like, after college English 101 and 102, like, there's really no point to it. So I know it tends to be like the least favorite among tasks that we have to do, and like what's valuable about it. So today I wanted to take the time to like reiterate the importance of what we're actually gaining when we practice this skill so much in the class. So rhetorical analysis is such a valuable skill because while you won't annotate texts or write essays in real life after college, you will absolutely still read and listen to important communication from other people, and you'll need to determine if you buy into their message or not. So everyone, whether it's your mom and dad, politicians you hear on the news, your friends, teachers, advertisers, they're trying to convince you to think a certain way, and you need to be able to analyze their purpose and strategies in order to know if you'd like to be convinced. Even more importantly, you will need to be able to effectively persuade and communicate with people for the rest of your life. Whether you're trying to convince a friend or family member to agree with you on a certain topic, or persuade your boss to give you a promotion, or even effectively apologize to someone you wronged, you will need to be effective in how you communicate. And that's what rhetoric is. It's the how you are communicating to a particular audience. So we've been building these important skills for life all year long, just with historical speeches or current event articles that you may or may not find meaningful on a personal level. But now let's take time to make it more personal so you can better understand what exactly rhetorical analysis is. Every person who speaks or writes does so with a purpose to a particular audience in a certain context because they were sparked by a particular exigence, including me and including you. So today you will think about what your rhetorical situation is, and you will speak for that purpose to that audience in that context because of that exigence. And in order to do so effectively, you will need to make appropriate rhetorical choices. I do want to shout out Nate here for a second too. When we were talking back about the artifice prompt, he was bringing up how that kind of relates to this idea of rhetoric, right? If you're trying to like sell yourself at a job interview or to a college, like that's all part of rhetoric as well. You have to sort of like convince and persuade people that you're a good fit. So I also wanted to tell you, you really already did this when you wrote those argumentative letters about the novels that you guys read. So you took on the role, well, this is like already your role. You as the speaker are an Agua Fria High School student taking AP English. Your purpose was to persuade whether or not to teach a certain book. Your audience was the English department, a bunch of nerdy teachers who like to help students. Your context is 2020 Agua Fria High School, Avondale educational setting. And your exigence was your crazy AP Lang teacher made you read a book and share your opinion on it. So it wasn't really like an authentic exigence. So that's what this assignment is supposed to be. I want you to come up with like an authentic or a real reason you have to communicate with someone. So that's why I was saying, Des, if you want to write your letter to your dad, like asking that you have permission to go on your runs now, because that's super important for you. That would be like a real reason you have to communicate with somebody. So you guys had to make effective rhetorical choices when you wrote, and you guys crushed it. The letters overall were really phenomenal because you were personal about your experience reading in order to connect with your audience of English teachers. And you were formal and respectful to establish your credibility. You gave specific examples from the text to make your argument more logical and persuasive. I could go on, but instead I'd like you to create your own authentic rhetorical situation for writing or speaking to a particular audience today. So I broke it down into your 5 steps that you're going to need to do. The first one is just coming up with an idea of what you want to communicate and to whom. So you should have like a message you want to say to a certain person for a reason. And I have a bunch of examples for you here if you can't think of one on your own. Then you have to think and make sure you know your rhetorical situation. So you're going to fill out a chart that includes that rhetorical situation. You're going to determine the rhetorical choices you will need to include in your writing to make sure you achieve your purpose with that particular audience. So again, it's a little chart you'll fill out. Okay, step 4 is going to take the bulk of your time. That's where you're writing your actual communication. The idea is like, for example, if Des wants to write her dad a letter, that she actually gives the letter to her dad, but then you're also going to paste it on your assignment here, so I can see that you wrote something. I already got a question from Alonzo, who's clearly an early bird. He said, how long does this need to be? There's no length requirement here because it's your own writing, and depending on the task and the purpose and all that is going to depend on how long it needs to be. I would think it's got to be at least a paragraph. That's kind of the parameters I'll give. Like if you're going to write a letter to someone or send an email, it's got to be a paragraph long. So, but there's not really a specific length requirement. All right, and then step 5, once you're done writing, then I just have a quick reflection for you to do, like how did this help you think about rhetorical analysis a little bit more? And that is your essential question for today for attendance, okay? So as we break down these steps, if you guys want to look at this list of suggestions I gave to you, so I tried to think of what might be authentic reasons for writing for you guys personally, but again, I'm not going to know those as well as you would know those. So notice the last option is to come up with something on your own, okay? If you already know, like you have someone you want to say something to, then go ahead and choose that one, come up with your own idea, and if you're not sure if it'll work or not, you can ask me. Okay, but the ones I came up with, the one I know is very common for students, usually you want to email a teacher to bug them to grade your work or your reassessment, or you turned in something late and you're like, hey, take care of this. So I thought that would be an easy one. Or if you needed something else from a teacher, if you wanted a letter of recommendation or something like that, you can definitely do an email to a teacher. Okay, option number 2, you could write an email or a letter to a younger sibling, giving them advice. I thought this one would be kind of cool. I know a lot of you are older siblings and you really care about the younger ones. So you can give them advice about anything you want, and I thought that would be cool for them to read. You could write an email or letter to a friend or family member that you know is struggling right now in these strange times. Obviously, a lot of people are going through stuff right now, so that's a really nice one to do, number 3. Feel free to write a speech or a blog post to promote a particular cause that you are passionate about or to criticize something you strongly disagree with. Okay, it can be like a very serious topic or it can be more lighthearted. Like if you really like comics, you know, you can write a blog post about why Batman comics are the best comics. Doesn't matter to me. Okay. A lot of you are in clubs and sports that obviously have been put kind of on pause right now. So I thought it would be really cool if you wrote an email or letter to the other members in that club or organization, motivating them to keep passion alive while things aren't really normal for that situation. Just to kind of give another example of that, some of you might know Jordan Fairchild. She's a senior. She wrote like a letter to the whole senior class. So she is really a good example of having to think about her purpose and like write rhetorically to achieve that purpose. You can write an email or letter to a business organization or politician thanking them for something positive they're doing right now. There's a lot of people trying to help others out there. So if there's, you know, one that you really admire, you can write something to them. Maybe you think there's something that should be done, something that needs to happen, or something that's happening that you disagree with and you want them to change. So feel free to write an email or letter to the local government asking them to take a certain action. Okay, and then again, like I already said, come up with your own purpose. I tried to have a balance here of ideas of like people you're close to and then more formal situations, but it's totally up to you what you want to write and how much time you want to spend on doing this. Okay, and remember the due date is today, but if you want to put a little more time and effort into this assignment, I don't know if you guys know, but due dates are kind of made up at this point. Like you can turn stuff in late, it's not a big deal. Okay, once you've chosen what you want to do, then you need to think about your rhetorical situation, your speaker, purpose, audience, context, and exigence. So I gave you an example here. So my authentic purpose for writing is I want to write to College Board asking them to extend the time limit on AP essays because I think 40 minutes is too short. So after thinking of this, I identified me as the speaker. I've been teaching AP English for 4 years, so I'm going to need to utilize that in my role. My purpose is to convince them that they should extend the time limit from 40 minutes to 1 hour. My audience is College Board. They're the organization in charge of AP and SAT testing, so it's an extremely formal audience. The context, United States 2020, this impacts everyone across the US. Some things kind of generally going on that influence the context here is college is becoming more and more expensive. So for me, that's important because I want more students to be able to earn college credit so that it's less expensive for them. The AP program is continuing to grow. I know that College Board has the ability to make changes because they've already changed the curriculum and test. So those are just some influencing factors. And then my particular exigence, what sparked me to want to write this, is that over the past 4 years, I have had a lot of students who are excellent writers, but can't necessarily produce that excellent writing in only 40 minutes. And so it's a kind of a bummer that I see them put all this effort and work in, and then they don't have a shot to do well on the test just because they need 50 minutes or they need an hour to really produce their best work. Okay, so once I have that in mind, I'm going to think of rhetorical choices that I need to make in my writing. So because my audience, the College Board, is so highly respected and educational, I'm going to make sure I'm really formal in my tone with them. I don't want to be too casual. I want to also establish my support for the AP program, so I kind of want to compliment them, say how great the AP program is, and show my credibility as a teacher because I always follow their guidelines and follow the curriculum and things like that. I'm going to appeal to their ethics. Okay, I know that they care about equity in education, so I'm going to give them specific examples about how the 40-minute time limit doesn't really fit in with their ethics of equity in education. I'm going to appeal to their emotions by sharing some specific anecdotes about particular students, so maybe they'll feel bad for those students. And then I'm going to use some repetition in my writing of what the AP program is truly all about. It should be about quality of education, not how fast you can do something. So anyway, I did 5 of these. You don't need to think of 5 necessarily, at least do 3 of them. And then this step 4 is just, this is where you'll paste your actual communication. So this is what you ended up writing after you thought about your writing ahead of time. And then this will link you to your essential question, which is on a Google form to just quickly reflect on the assignment. Okay. All right, that was a lot of talking, and even so, we're after 9:30, okay, because I'm just so long-winded. All right. What questions do you guys have about completing this? Go ahead and stop sharing for a second. Any questions or confusion about like trying to think of your own situation that you want to write about and that sort of thing? No?
No.
Okay. Does anyone have any like thoughts or ideas about what they want to write today?
I'll probably write a letter to my mom because she's a registered nurse and she's like working through this whole thing. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great piece to write. It's really cool. Love it. Anybody else? Nate, any thoughts on what you might write today?
No. I need to think about it.
You need to think about it a little bit more?
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Not really sure. Okay. And just remember, like, I don't want like anyone to feel like stressed about this assignment. So that's why like I gave you those options too. So you can just pick from one of those, whichever one maybe feels the most natural or important. Des, do you think you're going to write to your dad, or do you think you'll do something else?
I'll probably write about my helicopter parents.
You'll what?
I'll probably write about my helicopter parents.
But who are you going to write to?
I'll think I'll just write to them as a whole.
To your
Like, they're
parents? To
like-
both of your parents?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right. Love it. Nadia, Ryan, any thoughts there?
Still haven't thought of it. There's so many options, so I got a lot
There
to
are
choose.
so many options. That's true. You'll have to take some time to kind of see which one feels like the most purposeful to you.
Yeah.
Alexa says she's got to process them all too. So yeah.
That's funny. Did you get any AP updates yesterday?
So the webinar I went to on Tuesday, one thing I found out, Nadia, was that you will be able to print out the text if you want to annotate it.
Okay.
And I did find out that if you don't have a printer and you can't print it out, that you're just going to have to take notes on paper. You won't be able to annotate electronically.
Okay.
Yeah. And I found out some other stuff too. I haven't even talked it over yet with Miss Leone, so I'll definitely put something together. But one thing that's kind of cool too is you'll get to have like spelling and grammar check, because you can do it and you're either like typing your response in Google Doc or Microsoft Word. That's kind of cool. Like you don't have to deal with like grammatical errors and things like that, which normally on the test you would, because you're doing it all by hand. So that's kind of nice. All right, well, I don't want to keep you guys because I know Miss Secor's probably waiting, and I got started a little slow today after our meetings. But I hope you guys take the time to write something that's meaningful to you for a certain purpose. If you get stuck, if you have questions, if you need help, I will be back on for office hours at 1 p.m. Or feel free to shoot me an email anytime throughout the day. Okie dokie.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
have an
you.
awesome 3-day weekend. Enjoy, have fun, and I'll see you guys again on Monday.
Okay.
Bye.
See you later.